Method 1, take notes after class for active recall. Taking notes after you train is a hack to supercharge your jiu-jitsu learning, but you're probably doing it wrong. The reason for taking notes is not so that you have a notebook full of techniques that you've done in class, which you're probably going to throw into a drawer and forget even exists. It's for active recall. In his book, Limitless, Jim Kwik describes active recall as a process through which you review material and then immediately check to determine how much of it you've remembered. In a jiu-jitsu context, this means writing down as much as you can remember of the techniques from class, paying particular attention to the 3 or 4 key details of the technique. You can take this process even further by following up with your coach during your next class regarding any of the details that you may need help remembering. I've done this many times over the years. After you've gotten the key details from your coach, then you can go back and update your notes. And this will help to consolidate the techniques that you're learning. Note-taking has the added benefit of forcing you to pay extra attention to the critical details of the techniques during class time. If you know you have to write it down afterwards, you're more likely to ask questions or to retain the information. Studies have shown that optimal learning occurs when forced recall or active recall is involved. Recalling is vital to memory formation. How to take jiu-jitsu notes. Here is my note-taking process for jiu-jitsu. Step 1, write out the techniques in order that they were shown in dot point or flow arrow form. 2, emphasize the 3 to 4 key details and use brevity or shorthand. Remember, we're not writing an essay here and no one else needs to be able to understand it. It's just for you. 3, write out where you got stuck during your rolls. For example, if you were submitted using the same technique 2 or 3 times, write it down. Write down what you did well during your rolls. You may have finally hit that submission that you've been hunting for. Write it down. Or you may have finally been able to pass your best training partner's guard. Excellent. Write down what happened. And 5, briefly read back over what you wrote down just to make sure it makes sense and you can understand what you've written. Method 2, follow a strength and conditioning program. Strength training improves your performance and most importantly, it reduces your risk of injury. If you had to fight an exact clone of yourself, but the clone had a 25% power and strength increase, what do you think would happen? Who do you think would win? Strength is your ability to exert maximal force. Power is your ability to exert maximal force in as little time or with as much speed as possible. As a grappler, you need both. In the article, 5 Things I Did to Get Strong for BJJ, I discussed the 5 best strategies that you can implement right now to start getting strong for BJJ. 1, lift weights 2 to 3 times per week. 2, focus on compound movements. 3, focus on core grip carry and rotation. 4, include explosive power training. And 5, make sure you're using some form of auto-regulation in the form of RPE or wave loading. However, improved performance is not the only reason to lift weights. BJJ has a high injury rate. The number 1 way to reduce your risk of injury on the mats is to lift weights for your sport. Jiu-jitsu specific strength protocols can reduce your risk of injury by at least 40%, enabling you to spend more time on the mats and improve faster in the long run. To find the absolute best training program to suit your goals and for the ultimate jiu-jitsu performance, and most importantly, to reduce your risk of injury, follow the link in the description and check out my free program quiz. This will take your goals into account, your specific situation, and provide you with the best recommendation for the program that works best for you. Method 3, mobility training, a jiu-jitsu specific mobility routine. Improving your mobility for BJJ will give you 2 things. First, it'll improve your jiu-jitsu gas tank. Your gas tank or your mat fitness is your ability to sustain a high level output during sparring. Your jiu-jitsu gas tank has 3 components: their technique efficiency, movement efficiency, and cardiovascular fitness. Movement efficiency is the ability to move your body through space effortlessly and achieve the positions required by the jiu-jitsu techniques that you're trying. Secondly, improving your mobility will unlock techniques and otherwise unavailable positions found in jiu-jitsu. Recently, I worked with a guy named Chad, a highly motivated white belt whose mobility was so bad that in his own words, he could barely lock up a triangle. we focused on knees to chest mobility and strengthened his hip flexor, hip capsule, and hamstrings. The mobility-focused strength training changed Chad's game. In his own words, he's now locking up triangles, baby. To get started, I recommend the 30-day Jiu-Jitsu mobility challenge, which is freely available here on YouTube. But if you want to accelerate your improvement, then you need to get your hands on BJJ Move, the 12-week strength and mobility-focused training program specifically designed to unlock and strengthen for Jiu-Jitsu. Studying match footage of the highest levels of competition, especially IBJJF Worlds, ADCC, and as of recently, CJI, along with instructionals, if you have the means to access them, will significantly improve your Jiu-Jitsu. But you could be doing it wrong. There's a difference between watching something for entertainment and watching something to learn. When most people watch match footage, or even instructionals for that matter, they approach it with an entertainment-only mindset. This mindset is not only ineffective, but can actually be a massive waste of your time. For a solution, I want to turn to John Danaher, one of the greatest BJJ coaches in the world and a prolific producer of world-class instructionals. I attended a seminar at the beginning of 2023 with John Danaher. He was asked about the most effective way to study from his instructionals, and he suggested this process. Watch the content until you learn something new, then stop the video, note down the new technique, and attempt to implement it consistently in your training. Then you can refer back to the instructional only if you get stuck with the technique. Once you've successfully been able to implement this technique into your training, then you can move on to the next technique shown in the instructional. Now, when it comes to learning from competition match footage, my method is to look for common trends or common problems amongst the most successful grapplers, or any common issues, mistakes that they're making. This method is more advanced. It requires an understanding of Jiu-Jitsu patterns so that you can recognize mistakes or identify what's going wrong. And because of that, this strategy or method may be beyond a beginner's understanding and skill level, but you can still simplify it down and watch match footage, watch how the competitors pass guards, submit, or retain their guard, and then try and learn that way. Reverse engineer. The best way to improve your Jiu-Jitsu is to train Jiu-Jitsu. But you can only do so much training in a week before you start to get diminishing returns. Or maybe you're restricted by your time or even your physical recovery constraints. Regardless, if you implement these 4 strategies consistently, the returns will compound and you'll see much faster improvement and progression on the mats. If you got any value from this video, it would really help with the YouTube algorithm if you smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and leave me a comment. Which method did you like the best? Or maybe I forgot one of your preferred methods for improving off the mats. Thanks for watching.